What's up, everyone? This is David with All Beach Everything, doing another playing tip. And before I get into this, I want to give a quick shout out to Morgan Miller and Summer Ross for winning the NVL tournament this past weekend in Dallas on the women's side, and the Canadians Josh Binstock and Sam Schachter for winning on the men's side. Good job to all you all. I enjoyed watching it on the live stream, and I look forward to future tournaments and seeing some more action. Now, as we get into the playing tip, what I'm going to be covering today is my favorite play to defend on defense. Definitely one of my strengths, and definitely a very exciting play, and definitely one of the staples of being a good defender in beach volleyball, and that is covering the high line shot. And that's because usually the default, play on defense is to have a line block up with your defender set up in the cross-court dig, and the obvious shot to play around that defense is hitting that high shot over that block down the line. And I'm going to run through this play and show you kind of the two different plays I'm going to be looking at. First one here, Brady Halverson not able to get to the play, and here's Aaron Walkvogel on this side, makes a good dig, goes over the net, comes right back, gets a good touch on that high line shot. And I'll go through and show some of the differences as to why one got a touch on the ball and the other didn't. Here, Brady serves the ball into play, and the most important thing as far as covering this play is you have to get into position very quickly. I mentioned before in previous videos that defense kind of boils down to two things: patience and positioning. He does get into position eventually, but he gets there very slowly, and really he gets there too late, and he's already still moving when the play is already developing. So as you can see, he's just kind of walking, strolling over to that right side of the court, and the ball has already gotten to the setter, it's already been set, still moving, trying to make last second adjustments, and by the time he gets finally into position, the ball's already contacted, moving high over his blocker at that point. And at that point, it's way too late for him to try and change direction, to shift momentum in another direction. So as soon as that ball goes into play, when he serves it, he should already be side shuffling very quickly over to that right side of the court, instead of just kind of walking over. And this can happen a lot if you're really tired out there, but you just have to kind of suck it up and just get over there as fast as possible. Once you get in position, then you can stop moving. You can start to begin to read the hitter and the play as it develops, but you don't want to take your time getting over into position, because then you won't be able to make those last second adjustments in time. So you see the ball's already set, and by the time that the hitter makes his jump, you want to already have a read on the play for the most part. You don't have to necessarily commit, but already have in mind what you think the player's going to do. After that, once the ball is contacted, that's when you really make your jump. But as you see, he's still moving to his right. Ball is contacted, it's going over his partner, and at this point it's already coming down, trying to change position, and just can't get there in time. And on the other side of this, with Aaron, see, partner pulls off the net, he switches sides, covers the line he's supposed to. And in this one, he got to his position with plenty of time. And another key to this is that he was in a ready position by the time the hitter went into his jump. You may not think it's a big deal, but you really need all the fractions of a second that you can save while you're playing defense. So standing straight up and then having to drop your hips down to move in any direction is really time wasted. And going off of this set, you see at this point he's down in a ready position, and he's ready for that cross-court hit if it comes to him. He probably already eliminated the sharp angle since it was a short approach to the ball, and he just waits on it, and makes a quick move towards that high line. And the very last thing, and probably the most important thing to covering any type of roll shot, especially this high line, is how you angle your hips and your feet basically on defense. So it's one thing to be in position and be there in time, but little changes like how you're angled. So you can see this is basically how his feet and his hips are pointing. They're at a slight angle in relation to the net. If you were to be positioned on the back line here, which you really should never be, but let's just say that he's on this back line, then you would want to have your feet and hips be perfectly parallel to the net. That's because if you're covering this high line shot, all you're doing is moving perfectly horizontal left and right, just to cover it. So you don't have to angle yourself in any ways. All you're doing is moving left and right. If you're a little bit closer to the net than where he is right now, say over here, then you're going to have a much sharper angle, probably more like a 45-degree angle, if not a little bit more. That way you can recover going backwards to cover that high line. So as you kind of tell what the trend is that the further back you are in the court, the less sharp of an angle or the more shallow of an angle you're going to position yourself to cover that high line. As you'll kind of notice, the way that his hips are positioned basically determines on how deep in the court you can actually cover. So that's about as deep as he can cover. He can cover everything in front of him here and to the sideline. Anything that's like over in this area is going to be somewhat of a gray area, but that's a very difficult shot, and for the most part he's going to be counting on intercepting the path of the ball by the time he gets over to that high line area. And same thing going to his in the other direction, he's able to cover everything in front of him this way in the cutty. Anything over here, more of a gray area, but the same thing. For those sharp angles, you're probably looking to intercept the path of the ball as it's being hit. So as I go through this slowly, actually go back, do that again slowly, you see how the way that his hips are positioned, how that determines how deep in the court he can cover. It's right around that area. And usually that's at best, it's usually a little bit more in front than where your hips are pointing. But again, you want to try and intercept the path of the ball, get it about waist level. You want to get it right as it's about to hit the ground, because it's going to make it tough to get a good dig out of it. He just redirects this a little bit more towards the net. They can probably play this out and have a chance to side out. But still, it's a good touch, and it's really all you can ask for on defense and as a partner is to get just solid touches and just give your shot to side out each and every time. You want to deter the other team from hitting these roll shots, because by doing that, it's going to force them to take more hard swings, and that's going to bring your blocker into play, giving you a much better chance to actually make a good defensive play, whether if it's a block or a dig, because there's less movement involved. So this high line play is definitely something you're going to be seeing a lot from teams. It's the classic shot to hit in the line block, cross court, dig defense. So you have to be ready and in position, plenty of time, have your hips low, knees bent, ready to play that hard dig if they swing at it. But it also will give you the ability to move very quickly left and right laterally to the high line or to the cutty. Adjust your feet and your hips based on where you are in your courts. You have to have a very strong court presence on where you are. The further back you are, the less shallow. In relation to the net, does your feet and hips have to be angled? The closer you are, the more sharply they have to be angled. Those are pretty much the basics. There's a few other things you have to kind of account for. Some tells, whether it's the arm swing angle, where the set is, the type of approach the hitter's making. But those you just kind of have to make for yourself. I can't really tell you what you should do in certain situations. You have to pick it up as you kind of go along. It really depends on who you're playing and how your team's playing as a whole. But that's it. If you want to get more tips like these, visit allbeacheverything.blogspot.com. You can also find all of these tips on YouTube. Go to Tao of Shy, which is spelled DAOOFCHI. That's the channel name. You can find all the tips and tutorials I've done. They're in a playlist, so you can just look at them individually. Until next time, you can always leave me recommendations, comments, questions. I'll be more than happy to break down some plays for you guys if you want. But that's it. I hope you enjoyed it and learned a little something.